Grade 5, Week 5 lesson. Hello, class. Are you ready to learn? I sure am. It's good to see all of you. Before we begin, let's practice our words. Please write these down if you haven't written them down before. As I say the words, you can say them after me to practice. Are you ready? Here we go. Purchase. Luxurious. Identical. Gigantic. Decline. Land. Assume. Beverage. Absurd. Courteous. Edible. Occasion. Require. Seldom. Visible. Wilderness. Generation. Jim says, "Hey, that sentence on the last slide is a complex sentence." Yes, it is. Can you show me the dependent clause? Before we begin, let's practice our words. Which part of this sentence is the dependent clause? Do you know? Try to remember what we learned last week. Are there any helping words? Jim says, "I think the first part is the dependent clause." That's correct. Good job. Before we begin is the dependent clause. If we say that by itself, it doesn't make any sense. Hello. Before we begin. If we say before we begin, we need to have something else with it, the independent clause. Before we begin, let's practice our words. Emily says, "I have a story about family reunions." Okay, Emily, please tell us. On the first day, I went to play with my cousins. They wanted to play games inside, so we did. I got to learn how to play Uno and Monopoly. It was so fun, and I didn't want to stop. Our parents came in to say we needed to eat. They said, "After lunch, you can play again." That sounds like so much fun, Emily. Let's look at these sentences in this story. On the first day, I went to play with my cousins. Is this a complex sentence? If it is, can you show me the dependent clause? Let's think about this. Do we have any clues? Well, the sentence does have a comma in it. Let's read it again. On the first day, I went to play with my cousins. Does part of the sentence not make sense if you leave it by itself? Let's read them separately. Hello, on the first day. That doesn't seem to make sense. But let's read the other one. Hello, I went to play with my cousins. That makes sense. I could say that all by itself. That makes it an independent clause. So that means... That's right, Jim. Jim thinks that the dependent clause is the first part. On the first day. Good job, Jim. That's right. This one was a little tricky because it didn't use any of our helping words. However, it still is a complex sentence. On the first day, I went to play with my cousins. We cannot say the first part alone because it would not make sense. Emily says, these are getting easier. That's great to hear, Emily. I hope they're getting easier for everyone. Jim says, yeah, but I still need to practice more. That's okay, Jim. I think we all need to practice more. Sentence number 2. They wanted to play games inside, so we did. Is this a complex sentence? If it is, can you show me the dependent clause? So we did. That is correct. Good job. This is the dependent clause. If we say it by itself, it doesn't make sense. Hello, so we did. That doesn't make sense at all. But when you put it with the independent clause, it makes a lot of sense. They wanted to play games inside, so we did. Very good, everyone. Sentence number 3. It was so fun, and I didn't want to stop. Is this a complex sentence? If it is, can you show me the dependent clause? Let's look at this sentence. Does it have any clues? I don't see any helping words, and I don't see any commas. I do see the word and. That means that this has 2 parts of the sentence. Let's read them both separately. It was so fun. I didn't want to stop. Wow, both of those make sense when you say them by themselves. Jim says, I think this is a normal sentence. Yes, Jim, this is. This is not a complex sentence. This sentence has 2 independent clauses. This is called a compound sentence. We will learn about that another lesson. Sentence number 4. Our parents came in to say we needed to eat. Is this a complex sentence? If it is, can you show me the dependent clause? Let's look for some clues. Wow, I don't see any commas. I don't see any helping words. And I don't see any other words like and or but. This one's really difficult. What do you think? Emily says, this is a normal sentence, I think. That's right, Emily. This is a normal sentence. There's only one part to this sentence, the independent clause. And if we don't have a dependent clause, it cannot be a complex sentence. Very good job. Sentence number 5. They said, after lunch, you can play again. Is this a complex sentence? If it is, can you show me the dependent clause? Let's look for some clues. Wow, I see 2 commas. How do we divide this sentence up into its clauses? They said, comma, after lunch, comma, you can play again. Well, one of them just shows what they said. They said. But inside the quotation marks, we have another comma and another sentence. That's a clue for you. Do you know what part is a dependent clause? Do you know, is this a complex sentence? Jim says, I think it is a complex sentence because inside the quotes has a dependent and an independent clause. Very good. After lunch is the dependent clause. If I walk up to you and I say, hello, after lunch, that doesn't make much sense. But if I say, hello, you can play again, you know exactly what I mean. So there is a dependent clause, after lunch, and an independent clause, you can play again. Very good job, everyone. That was a good story, Emily. Thank you so much for sharing. Emily says thank you. I like playing games, but I really wanted to go play in the wilderness near my hotel. There were so many trees and places to explore. Wow, that does sound like fun and very beautiful. Jim says, hey, I think I see a vocabulary word. Good job, Jim. Yes, Emily used a vocabulary word. Emily, can you tell us what it means? Class, do you see the vocabulary word? If you don't, that's okay. Emily will show us. New vocabulary word. Wilderness. A place or area that has not been developed or made to be safe for humans. Forests and mountains and deserts are all examples of wilderness. Let's make a sentence. We were scared because we were alone in the wilderness. Wow, that would be scary, wouldn't it? I would not want to be alone in the wilderness. Question. What do we call the mother of a cousin? Do you know? Think carefully. Last week I showed you the chart, but this week I want to see if you can remember. If you need to pause the video to think some more, you can. If you still can't remember, here is a hint. This is the same relative that is your father's sister. Wow, what do we call the relative that is the mother of a cousin or your father's sister? Do you know the answer? Emily says, now I know. Aunt. That's right. Your father's sister is your aunt, and the mother of your cousin is also your aunt. Very good job. Do you know there are other types of cousins? They are called second and third cousins. And if you really want to go further, you can see that there are fourth and fifth cousins. Here's a chart. You are in generation 5. If you go up to your parents, and then over to your aunt and uncle, and then back down, that is your first cousin. You went up one generation to your parents, and then back down one generation to your cousin. These are called first cousins. But we don't usually say first cousins. We usually just call them cousins. If you go up 2 generations to the green generation, your grandparents, and then go over to their brothers and sisters, your grand uncle and grand aunt, and then back down 2 generations, you will have a second cousin. They're second cousins because you had to go up and down 2 generations. If you go up 3 generations to your great-grandparents, and then over to their brothers and sisters, your great-grand-uncles and great-grand-aunts, and then back down to your generation, those are called third cousins, because you went up 3 generations and back down 3 generations. You'll notice that there are other types of cousins that are once removed or twice removed, but we won't talk about that during this lesson because that gets more complicated. Here is a bigger picture of the chart. Look for the generations because those are very important. And generation is also one of our vocabulary words. Don't worry if you don't understand it all right now. This is pretty difficult stuff. Sometimes at family reunions, people like to tell stories. Have you heard any stories from your family? Jim says, yeah, they tell lots of stories. Tell us a story, Jim. Okay, my mom was talking about a time when she and her sister played a joke on their brother. They would put corn in his nose while he was sleeping. Then they would wait for him to wake up. When my grandpa heard this, he said, "That's absurd." After that, we all went to go cook dinner. Great story, Jim. But they put corn in his nose? That doesn't sound safe. I don't think I would feel comfortable trying that with my brothers. Can you find the complex sentence in this story? Let's read it again. Okay, my mom was talking about a time when she and her sister played a joke on their brother. They would put corn in his nose while he was sleeping. Then they would wait for him to wake up. When my grandpa heard this story, he said, "That's absurd." After that, we all went to go cook dinner. After that, we all went to go cook dinner. That's right. That is the complex sentence. Very good. Which one is the dependent clause? After that is the dependent clause. It has one of our helping words, and you have to say it with the other clause. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. I cannot go up to a person and say, "Hello," after that, because that doesn't make sense. Good job, everyone. That's correct. Emily says, "Hey, there's a vocabulary word." That's right. We saw the word absurd. Let's find out what that word means. Absurd. Something that doesn't make sense or is not logical. Let's make a sentence. It's absurd to think that a cape can make you fly like Superman. That's right. Even if I put a cape on, I cannot fly like Superman, and it doesn't make sense to think that it does. No cape can make you fly like Superman. That's a great sentence. Let's practice. Until 5 o'clock. I will eat snacks. He went to exercise. I bought the shirt. After it stopped raining. While I was shopping. Which of these are dependent clauses? There's at least one on this page. Think carefully. If you need to, say them out loud to yourself and see if they make sense when you say them alone. Until 5 o'clock. Does that make sense? I will eat snacks. He went to exercise. I bought the shirt. After it stopped raining. While I was shopping. Let's see if we can find a dependent clause. Do you know? Until 5 o'clock. That's right. Until 5 o'clock doesn't make sense if we say it by itself. We can put it with an independent clause, but we cannot say it alone. So this is a dependent clause. Are there any more? Look closely. That's right. After it stopped raining. This one has a helping word, so it's easy to see that it's a dependent clause. Good job. Are there any more? Yes, there is. That's correct. While I was shopping. This one also has a helping word. While. We cannot say this alone because it doesn't make sense. While I was shopping. We have to put it with an independent clause. Can you put these dependent clauses with the independent clauses? I bought the shirt while I was shopping. I will eat snacks until 5 o'clock. After it stopped raining, he went to exercise. Very good, everyone. Nice job. Jim says, "Teacher, my friend told me that he had to wear a name tag at his family reunion." That's right, Jim. Sometimes that is required so that family members that have never met will know each other's names. Jim says, "Oh, okay." That's right, Emily. Require is a vocabulary word. Very good job at seeing the vocabulary word. Let's find out what it means. Require. Something is required if you must do it. Require can also be a need of something. Let's make a sentence. Plants require sunlight to grow. That's right. Plants need sunlight to grow, so it is required. Good job, everyone. That's a great sentence. Let's practice again. What do you call your brother's wife? Do you remember? If you have your chart, look at it now. If you don't, try to remember. If your brother gets married, what relationship is his wife to you? We would call our brother's wife our sister-in-law because they got married. So they are an in-law, a sister-in-law. Great job, everyone. Very good. Jim says, "Oh no, I see the clock." What does that mean, class? That's right, it's almost time to go. But before we go, let's take a look at the words we learned today. Wilderness, a place or area that has not been developed or made to be safe for humans. Forests and mountains and deserts are all examples of this. Absurd, something that doesn't make sense or is not logical. Require, something is required if you must do it. Require can also be a need of something. If you didn't write them down before, pause the video and write them down now. Thank you all for being such a good class this week. Next week is our last week for complex sentences and family reunions. Goodbye, class. See you next week.
Thank you for watching our video today. Please don't forget, subscribe, and that will help us to make lots more videos for you. Thank you. Bye.